And that first one is this legal? I mean, this doesn't sound right. I've been taught my whole life that I've got to get my credit right. I've got to save my 20% to put it down. I've got to do blah, 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 all these different things. And I've never heard of just signing it over. What do you mean just sign it over? Sign it over? I'm the bank. What? No. And you do a little explaining, but remember, I say this all the time. If you're in my training, you hear me say this all the time. Don't be the smartest one in the room. Don't be the smartest one in the room, even though you may be, okay? You may know, and generally you are going to know more than the person that you're talking to. But you don't want to come off like that. You don't want to come off using all the big words. They're going to be lost, and they're going to be intimidated. And because of that, they prefer not to work with you because they don't know what you mean. They have no idea what you mean. They feel that you could be using words and phrases that are putting them in a bad situation, and they're just signing things they don't know about. So you keep it simple. Yes, this is legal. This is absolutely legal. It's done all the time. In fact, we've done hundreds of them, thousands at this point over the years. We work with people all around the country that do these things. We do them with single family and multifamily. We do it with cars. We do it with commercial real estate. Note that could be a debt that could be associated with it. We do this with it. You have to let them know that this is absolutely legal. In fact, we'll be closing this with a title company or an attorney, depending on the kind of state you're in. Some states you're going to use attorneys. Some states you're going to use title companies, right? So you got to give them the okay, the knowledge that, hey, he's telling us something real here. It's at least worth looking into, right? And I tell them all the time, if you want, you can hire your own attorney to do this. Depending on the state that you're in, it's going to cost you anywhere between $600 and $700, but there is an attorney. They do have to follow state rules, regulations, and guidelines for the transference of real estate. They have to do that, and everything is filed, the state, the county, the city, so on and so forth. It's all legal, and the attorney will be able to explain everything to you throughout this entire process. And even though I'm paying them, they don't work necessarily just for me. This has to be good for you. And that's how we get past that objection, because it comes up, okay? And you want people to understand. I mean, you've heard of the scams. I mean, they happen a lot in Florida, not as much as they used to, but they happen in Texas, where people are using all these ridiculous things to basically squat in people's houses. So it happens all over the place. New York was notorious. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut was notorious for it for a while. They're not the only places, but like I said, it's happened where people learned some paperwork, did some crazy stuff, forged some things 9 times out of 10, and found themselves in these situations. So you want to put people at ease by explaining to them that, yes, this is absolutely legal. There are thousands of these transactions that happen across the country every single day. In fact, these things that we're doing come from old English law. That is for real. These things were happening in England hundreds of years ago. Nothing has changed. In fact, our lawyers still have a royal title, Esquire. Nothing has really changed. All right? So they'll be there. There's always going to be an attorney involved. There's always going to be someone that's right there to be able to answer your question. If not me or one of my associates, the attorney or the title company will be right there to answer your calls as well. Period, point blank. Okay? And that's how you overcome that objection. Another objection that you're going to see is, how will this affect my credit? If I sign this over to you, if I do this deal, if we do a subject to deal, and you're going to hear these mostly from people that you're doing subject twos with, right? People that are in pre-foreclosure status, people that don't have any equity in their house, just that don't know about a lot of this stuff, right? So these folks are not going to really know a lot about that. So these are valid questions to them. How does this affect my credit? If I sign this over, well, that's easy, right? Especially if they're in foreclosure. Well, right now, I'm going to stop that foreclosure for you. We're going to reinstate this loan. And by the way, there's a process to doing this when you're dealing with people that are in foreclosure, right? There's a process, but you can't just close it out and file it right away. There's a process that you have to be aware of, because it can trigger the due on sale clause if you do not do it properly. But that's another conversation. So how does this affect your credit? Well, it affects your credit in a positive way. I'm going to make your loan current so it's not behind anymore, and then I'll be making your payment on a monthly basis on time. So it's only going to make your credit get better and better and better over time. Now, what you do with your credit cards and vehicle loans, I don't know. That's up to you. Right? Unless you want to sell me your car. Maybe it's one I want to take over. I don't know. But you're going to have that kind of conversation as well. Let them know, hey, this is going to help you out. It's going to fix it. Having an on-time mortgage payment on your credit is going to absolutely help you out, especially over time. It's a real big thing. So when they bring this conversation up and they don't know, if it's going to affect them negative or positively, they're going to want to know, we're going to do this deal. Is this house still going to be on my credit? Yes, it will still be on your credit. It will still be reporting. This is to save your credit. It's one of the reasons that we're doing it. It's to save your credit. It's to help you be able to reestablish yourself in another year or 2 or 3, whatever the situation is for you, so that you can get back into home ownership. Absolutely. 100% of the time. And by the way, let me say this. When you're doing a deal like this, especially with people that are in pre-foreclosure and they want to stay, they're like, look, can we just rent this place out for, the next 6 months, 12 months, something like that? Don't do it. Do not do it, because whatever got them in the problem may not be caught, may not be fixed, okay? Whatever that far into the hole, it may not be fixed, right? You don't know. Even though you're going to gather a bunch of information, maybe the situation is fixed. I mean, you could take it on a case-by-case basis if you'd like, and I would understand that. But the vast majority of people that I see in those situations, they didn't fix the problem. So they're behind. They don't have any means, right? There's nothing they're doing that's going to help them stay current moving forward. Maybe they don't have a job. They're not doing anything to make any money. They're just sitting at home. Well, leaving them there and now you got to go and evict them. And they're going to fight you, and they're going to be like, well, I did this deal. I didn't know what I was doing. They're going to play the ignorant role, even though you closed it with an attorney. That's just the way things go. So don't put yourself in that situation. When they're done, you tell them, when we do this deal, more often than not, you're going to have to give them some money to move. $2,000, $3,000. We've done, depending on the situation, as much as $10,000. So at some point, you're going to have to get them out of there, but you want to do it sooner than later. You want to do it like really, really soon. You might give them, 30 days. You might give them 2 weeks, but you're giving them that money so they can go on to the next chapter of their life, period. So please keep that in mind, because it can come back and bite you in the butt later on, okay? So another very common objection is, what if the bank calls my loan due? That's the due on sale clause, okay? That can happen. Now, I've had it happen to me over my 2 decades plus of investing in real estate. It's happened to me probably, I think, 3 or 4 times. Not that often. And that's for a couple different reasons. One, I learned how to do this the right way from the very beginning. So when I was doing it, I was never in a situation where I was just throwing it out there, right? Just doing stuff. So there's a way that these things have to be done, especially when you're doing pre-foreclosures. In particular, when they're in a foreclosure situation and the property has to be reinstated, you absolutely have to know what you're doing, 1,000%. But we're not going to get into that. But the bank can call these loans. They can, because why? The deed is in your name or in your entity's name or in a trust's name, and the loan is still in that person's name. So at any time the bank felt that they needed to do an audit, which happens, right? An in-depth audit, it sometimes happens, and they see that, they may exercise the due on sale clause. They may do that, okay? It does happen, but guess what? If you've closed it properly, 1, if you've done the insurance properly, 2, if you've made the payments and you're making the payments on time, 3, you have no problem. Odds of it happening are slim. I'm not going to say slim to none, but they are extremely, extremely slim. I don't even know how many of these deals I've done. I know people, and I know of people that have done thousands and thousands and thousands of these deals. Myself, over the years on creative financing, I don't know, probably 1,000, 1,200, I don't know, because I've been doing this for a long, long time. So it's only happened to me like 3 or 4 times. But the bank does reserve the right to exercise their due on sale clause. So you should understand that and know that clearly. That is a real possibility, and there are things that you can do to prevent that or to fix that. You get better in this, right? Because if they do it, there's really nothing you can do. I mean, there is something you can do. One of the things that you can do real quick is you can take that property and go back to the attorneys, get the seller, go back to the attorneys and switch it from a subject to, because this is the only time that would happen, to a lease option. And the price on that lease option would be the payoff for that day, okay? The loan payoff for that day. That's how you, if it comes up, you hurry up and switch it over and you put it back in that person's name and you do a lease option. Is that ideally what you want to do? No. Why? Because now you don't get the tax incentives, okay? So, but it saves you from having to go scurry about trying to find $200,000 or $300,000, right? It does absolutely help you with that. So the bank can do that, and you tell them very clearly, yes, that is a possibility. But in the event that something like that happens, you got to let them know, and you got to be honest with them. Yes, this is out here, and this can happen. But depending on how much you're taking, like if you've got a no equity deal, you're going to have to go and find a lender, and you're going to probably have to come out of pocket a boatload of cash. So you're not going to necessarily want to do that, and definitely never tell them that's what you're going to do. Don't back yourself into that kind of a corner. So just let them know in the event that something like that happens, we may have to restructure the deal, and that's it. We may have to go from this to this. And people will say, well, why not just do the lease option from the beginning? Well, you don't want to do the lease option from the beginning, again, because you don't get to take advantage of the depreciation. You don't. I mean, you could take advantage of the appreciation, but you don't get the tax advantage from the depreciation over time. I'm giving you everything you need to find success as a real estate investor. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel and like this video. See you later.